Hey there, and welcome to Let's Take a Break with Ron. Let's take a break on Ron's walk and do some chatting. Through various different reasons, I'm out and about, and it struck me that I have some thoughts. There are three contracts that have recently been signed by three separate teams that I thought have been very interesting, and I've got a few thoughts on. And so why not now, rather than continue to get myself out of breath walking like mad, why not spend a few minutes talking about the BBA, because, that's really the most important thing that there is, really, when it comes down to it. The first deal that I have in mind is the smallest, but perhaps the most interesting. It's kind of hard to say. They're all multiple year deals. This one is Twin Cities re-upped or extended Miller's Shed after receiving Shed as part of Valencia's big fire sale. The deal that Twin Cities has with Shed is technically a 6-year deal, but only 4 of them guaranteed. What is it? It's the top of my head, little under $5.5 million a pop for the 6 seasons, but the last 2 of them, if I recall right, are team options. So technically it's kind of a 4-year deal with a couple of years of a buyout. Shed is a particularly interesting player and a risky player in that sense, because he's only available because of his development problems. Those who have been paying attention know Shed burst on the scene a few years back, one of the early arrivals from that 2057 draft class. Was just out of this world, and then has kind of taken some major regressions over the past year or 3. Hence why Greg is interested in moving him for parts. The deal is quite interesting. He's a switch hitter, but technically he's really only a left-handed hitter right now. And he's lost quite a bit in the field as far as a shortstop is concerned, but he should be still a fantastic second baseman. In other words, he's just the kind of player that Allen in Twin Cities uses to excellence, right? The $5.5 million, a little under $5.5 million a year, does make him an interesting risk if he's bottomed out on his development negatives. Then I think that deal is a fantastic one for Allen. He's Shed, if I remember right, is 26 right now, and so that would run him through age 30 roughly. Should be fantastic, right? The other positive on that is if Shed does continue to dump, $5.5 million, especially if it's only the last year or 2, is something that Twin Cities could eat and probably not even skip a beat. It really depends on Allen's finances at the time, but usually they're in pretty good shape. So it's a medium risk on the performance side, a low risk on the finance side, and the kind of player that Allen will find ways to make better before it's all said and done. At the end of the day, as a probably platoon hitting, strong side platoon, he's probably a 1.5 to 3 WAR player over the years, right? So $5.5 million at that level is not too shabby. Second contract that I have in mind is what's Lucio Guevera? What's his last name? The shortstop that Charm City picked up from Rocky Mountain as Justin Niles begins to reshape Rocky Mountain in his own image. Guevara is a fantastic shortstop right now. He is also 26 years old. That deal, I believe, is 5 years at essentially $9.5 million a pop. I want to say that first year is $1 million less, or something like $8.5 million, something in that range. And at 26, that means that 5-year deal will run him up through age 31. Not bad. Guevera is one of the elite, like I said, shortstops in the league, and if you can find an elite shortstop, you want to hold on to him. And quite honestly, from Charm City's point of view, they are on the high end. They're what I would think of as a mini behemoth. They haven't quite gotten to the point where they've proven to be self-sustaining over a decade, right? But they're going to get close, and this is the time. If you're going to make that kind of a investment in a 6-year investment or a 5-year investment is by definition got some kind of performance risk, and if you're talking about that $9-10 million a pop, that is not a horrible financial situation if you have to eat it. But at the end of the day, 10 million is 10 million is 10 million. It's it's almost 10% of your salary cap. And offensively, he is not a juggernaut, right? If his bat fades a little bit, he drops from elite to just pretty good. And $9.5 or $10 million is okay for pretty good. So, the risk is there. But at the end of the day, right now, Charm City needs that elite guy at the shortstop position. They really need it. If something goes haywire in the last year or two of that deal becomes a bit of a problem, oh no, right? They'll figure it out. And if they do become a full-blown behemoth and they have the players coming up underneath him, then suddenly the risk is the problem is able to be dealt with without any real issue. If they don't become a behemoth and they do fall off, then this is their crest, and Charm City needs to play that to the hilt. So it was a fantastic signing, I think, for Charm City. Definitely some risk there, but if you're in Dave Brzezinski's, that's what I get for whatever. If you're in his seat, you make that deal every single time. And then the third and the biggest, the huge one is Alphonso Gonzales out of Nashville, right? Superstar player. Deal is a 6-year deal, a full 6-year deal, configured in a really interesting way, right? He's going to make 20 million and then 25 million, or is it 25 and then 20? And then essentially 13 or 14 the rest of the way. So the AAV is lower than that peak. But Nashville has front-loaded that. Chad front-loaded it. And I like that front-loading quite a bit. But it kind of signals Gonzales was a center fielder for quite some time. And if he were continuing to be a center fielder, this would just be out of the park. Well, obviously, out of the park. It would just be an amazing deal, right? As a right fielder, those first couple of years get to be a little bit pricey, although he's still quite elite in the field for a right fielder. He can't play center at this stage, unless you just slide him over for a game or 3 as an injury replacement. But with Tingle and Kramer in the short term, they're not going to need to do that. Again, this is a fantastic deal, but if you start looking at Nashville across the board, it's a deal that signals exactly what Chad has been saying financially. He has 2 players in his mix right now that he's almost certainly not going to be able to bring back. David Molina, he's been talking about, is not coming. And I wonder about Colby Triska, who he has moved over to, has been playing first base this year because of they've got a better option defensively there. I'm wondering, roughly, I would say Nashville's payroll looks to be about 99, 100 million going into free agency this year, which leaves them about roughly 10 million to play with. That means they could probably bring Triska back. It'd be really close. Triska is a free agent at the end of the year. Maybe they could do some other manipulation to front load or back load a contract for Triska, but that's kind of a dangerous dangerous task. It kind of just tells me, though, that both Molina and Triska are done. Maybe they'll bring one of them back. Probably not be able to bring Molina back. He'll get too big of a deal. Triska might. Would the market will be what the market is for him. He could still play second base, and so I could see him making 10 plus million for a while. I think he's 30 or 31. So at the end of the day, the point is that Nashville's roster is going to churn a little bit. And yes, Nashville still has great depth as far as that's concerned, but you have a really hard time replacing a Triska and a Molina at the same time. And beyond that, even if you can replace them, that means the next man up is not going to be as strong. So overall depth for that organization is in some question. That's in my brain when I did the BBA today with Kurt. I made the comment that I didn't think that Nashville was going to win a 100 game next year. I would put it differently right now. I'd say that's kind of like the over-under to me. I mean, they may, but I would not be willing to bet everything on it like I would have. Still, that means they're in the behemoth level, right? You win 95 games every year. That's my frame of reference. But the Gonzales deal itself, I want to say Gonzales is 27. I can't remember, 28. It's going to run him into his early, almost mid 30s. And at $13 and $14 million a year, if he keeps performing like he is, this is just a outstanding contract, right? Without any question. The problem with a 6-year contract, though, having let a bunch of them when I was a behemoth, is that you're taking risk. It's a risk you're happy to take. I mean, again, if you're in Chad's shoes, you sign this deal every single time that you possibly can. But it means that there is risk on his behalf, and the downside for a contract like that, especially if it goes bad early, is that it becomes an albatross for a long time. If you have to eat it, it's kind of a similar thing with the Charm City deal. If you have to eat it at the very end, you're fine. That nobody wants to eat $13 million, but if you have to, you can when you're a behemoth. But if you have to eat 3 years of $13 million, that suddenly gets to be a little bit heartburn-inducing. So, bottom line is, all three of these deals are fantastic deals for their team, but all three of them now have time risk associated with them. And so they're just things to watch, right? And when you put them together, somebody like Chad in Nashville is probably going to have to sign a few of these going forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. So anyway, those are my thoughts. And now I suppose I should get up and go and get some more steps in, because that's got to stay healthy so that my bikini krill can, so I can live long enough to see the bikini krill actually get back over 500 again. So there's my thoughts. Have a great day. If you've got any other ideas, by all means, I'll post these and chime in, tell me I'm silly or whatever. So anyway, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next lap, maybe.